Hello, and welcome to Purlfect Pairings. My name is Gayann. My pronouns are she, her. Thank you for tuning in to this knitting podcast coming to you from Melbourne, Australia. It's a place where I highlight and interview individuals involved in the wool industry within Victoria and Australia. Thank you so much for coming back if you're a return viewer, and if you're new, then welcome. You're very welcome here, and I love to read your comments. New viewers and those of you who are established in the community already, and I respond to all of them. So please do leave a comment below. Before we go any further, in the spirit of reconciliation, I would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land where this episode was recorded, and that's the Wurundjeri people and the Bunwurrung people, both of the Kulin Nation. I pay my respects to their elders, past and present. Now, I am going to pan over to the interview for today, which is with Jaime Dorfman, and I'm so excited to have sat down with her. Jaime is just a real bundle of energy, and I really enjoyed my time with her today. So without any further ado, here is the interview with Jaime. Hello, I am here. Oh my god, this is so fun. With the incomparable Jaime Dorfman. Hi, Jaime.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on the podcast. How you going?
I'm going well. It's a beautiful day in Melbourne for once,
I
so
know.
I can't complain. And hopefully summer will eventually make its way to Melbourne eventually when it stops raining.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
But yeah, I can't complain.
Should we start by talking about what we're wearing?
Of course. Do you want to go first?
Okay, I will. I'm wearing Jaime's Stairway to Heaven vest that I did the test knit for. It was really fun. I've knit it in Wool and Works Merino Chunky, I think it's called.
Yeah,
the
the
chunky
singles
base,
yarn,
the
yeah.
singles base. And the colorway is San Fran Flowers, and it's just an absolute spectacular color, and I am happy effectively every time I wear it. I don't think you can wear this color and not be happy.
Correct.
How about you?
It's beautiful.
Thank you.
I'm obsessed with it. I need to make one in a pink now. Somehow I don't have one in pink yet, which is a bit off brand. But yeah, so I'm wearing my most recent pattern that I released about a month ago. And this is the Aviva Wrap top. I can show the actual thing. And I knitted this in the Qing Fibre Melted Baby Suri. And then the colorway is, I don't know if it's pronounced Lapine or Lapine. I feel like I've been butchering it every time I have to say it out loud. It's like okay. French, but I have it's like this one. So it's this beautiful pink with these neon speckles, and it's super soft.
That's beautiful.
So it's a really nice, it's perfect for the weather we have today, which is low 20s, really nice and airy, and I'm really proud of it, so had to wear it.
Does this knit up like a DK?
It's a sport weight technically, but I think it really depends on your tension. Because a lot of my testers found that DK, they were more able to achieve the tension just because I'm a quite loose knitter. But I did another sample using 2 strands of the Wool and Works lace Suri silk, and that for me I was able to get a tension that was the same. So I think it really just depends, but it's a very unique yarn weight, which is a bit hard to find a substitute for. Yes. So that's why I did the 2 strands of lace for the other sample, just so that it was a bit easier for people to kind of find the right yarn to use. But it's a really good one if you can get your hands on it, because I'm obsessed with it.
And Chloe from Wool and Works, I feel like I saw this maybe on your podcast, is having a DK weight Suri.
She is.
That would be beautiful.
It would. I'm hoping that at least one person makes this pattern in it, because I had a few people messaging me asking what yarn from Chloe's base range would be best, and I haven't tried the DK Suri yet. I have some placed in my order, but not going to be making this, but I'm interested to see. Hopefully it will be a good substitute, because it's really, really, really nice.
Well, that's got
nice
me.
yarn.
That's got me thinking about some options.
Yeah.
Maybe. All right, should we get stuck into it?
Sure
I've
thing.
given Jaime a whole list of questions that I thought you'd be interested to know the answers to. So we'll get started. How did you get into knitting and crochet?
So it was actually, I was into crochet before I learned to knit. I finished school in 2017, and in 2018 I went on a gap year program. So I was living overseas for most of 2018 on a program with about 40 people. So that was really, really fun, but I was struggling a lot with what I didn't know at the time was undiagnosed ADHD. And I'd always struggled with that at school as well, but I was kind of noticing it a lot more and becoming more aware of it after finishing school because I was no longer at school and I was still struggling with the same things.
Less structure.
Yeah,
maybe.
and I was like, well, I'm still dealing with this. And one of my friends was crocheting a blanket and I was like, can you teach me how to do that? That looks fun. I always need to have something to do with my hands anyway. So crocheting seems more productive than biting my nails or picking my skin. So she taught me how to crochet and genuinely just never looked back. I don't think there was a day that whole year that I didn't crochet. And it was great because I had a whole group of people that, whether they liked it or not, were receiving crochet gifts from me every day because I couldn't obviously, make everything for myself. And it was really, really fun. But when I got home from that year, I was just kind of finding it a bit frustrating that I wasn't really getting much wear out of the things that I was making because it's just not really my style, and I no longer had all these people to just at my disposal make things for, and I was trying to sell things, but I didn't have a platform or anything, and it was just a bit difficult. And so I gave in, and I was like, fuck, okay, I'll learn how to knit because I've when you're a crocheter, everyone says, oh, what are you knitting? And you go, I'm crocheting. And then I was like, fine, I'll just learn how to knit so that people don't have to be corrected when they ask me, because I also felt like knitwear would be just more practical and wearable for me, at least, and what I was interested in making. And I've always, made things just so that I can wear them and enjoy the fruits of my labor. So I started knitting and I genuinely never looked back. I definitely continued to crochet for a while after that, but probably in about sometime in 2020, I feel like I left crochet behind. Recently picked it back up a little bit, but knitting definitely still is the main thing that I do. So yeah.
That's your jam.
Yeah.
Your preference is the knitting.
Yeah. Nothing against crochet. It's great and I do enjoy it, but
I've just never been able to actually crochet. I can knit, but for some reason I can't.
I can't imagine learning it the other way around, to be honest.
It just feels like a different.
It's very
coordination that I don't have with my hands.
Are you an English style knitter?
No.
Okay, interesting then.
Yeah.
I feel like if you're an English style knitter, crochet would be a different language, but because I was a crocheter first, that's why I knit continental, because that just came naturally.
Yeah.
But no, I think anyone can, if you're capable of knitting and capable of crocheting, they're just different things to get your head around. So it just depends on your preference, I guess.
Yeah, and I think there's different projects as well with them.
For sure. And I just prefer wearables and didn't find crochet to be as wearable. So yeah.
All right. You have a design and podcasting empire. That's what I call it.
Not the word I would use.
Empire.
That's just very nice regardless.
How did you start designing, or why did you start? And what do you like about podcasting?
So they're both things happened at very kind of different points in my kind of knitting journey. I don't know really. I think I must have been knitting from other designers' patterns for a good 2 years before I started actually designing. I probably started freehanding. I think it would have been sometime in 2020. So I'd learned to knit in early to mid 2019. So I'd already been knitting for well over a year at that point. And I don't know, it felt like the natural progression of things. I became more curious about just seeing if I could create things. I kind of learned the basic maths that you need to be able to figure out measurements and based on gauge and stuff like that. So I was able to figure out stitch counts and all that stuff. So I was kind of able to freehand some interesting pieces. Wouldn't really wear them now, but that's part of the process. And then I think it was only really in 2021 that I just started to design and write patterns and release patterns. I definitely was with gaining an audience comes demand for patterns, so it wasn't really like always my intention. I was just kind of making stuff, and then when more people start to see that, then more people go, can you write a pattern for this? So I was like, well, I'll do my best. I don't really know what I'm doing. No one taught me, and that was really hard. But over time, I've definitely improved a lot, especially this year. And I think that, so I guess I've been doing it for like close to 3 years now, which is weird. It's a long time. But I just, I make things for me that I want to wear. And if that turns into, if that's someone else's pattern, then I'll make someone else's pattern. If that's something that I dreamt up and made and other people want a pattern for it, then I'll write a pattern. But at the end of the day, like, I'm making stuff that I want to wear on a daily basis, and that's why like everything I make is very suited towards my style and not just like what's popular or like what other people are doing, because if it's not something I'm gonna wear, it's like it's still a waste for me. Even if I was to like be able to make some money off of it in a pattern, it's still a waste because I'm not gonna wear it. So that's just kind of how it happened, and I guess I turned into a bit of a business, but yeah. And then with podcasting, I started my YouTube channel, I think, over a year ago now. After I got home, I did a big Europe trip after graduating uni last year, and then I was kind of like, I guess I don't really know what I want to do, and I think I'll just see how doing this full-time for a little bit goes, and so I figured that I didn't really have an excuse not to do YouTube anymore because I had a lot more time on my hands. And I really enjoy watching other people's knitting podcasts. And I feel like it's a really good way to just kind of be able to document what I'm doing, because I feel like even on Instagram sometimes I look back and I'm like, I haven't even posted this thing, or I used to be pretty good at like, I'd finish something, I'd post it, but I feel like now it's just gotten a bit all over the place. And the podcasts are a really good way to just kind of round up everything I've made over however long, if it's a month or if it's 2 months, and talk about it and be able to kind of like share my actual thoughts on what I'm making rather than just like showing a photo of it. So I've enjoyed it, and then I've also enjoyed making other types of YouTube videos, but knitting podcasts are definitely like the easiest ones for me to make, because I can just talk and I don't have to like plan it as much, and I can just really just like speak from the heart, I guess. But I think it mostly just comes from enjoying other people doing it, so thinking, hopefully people can enjoy listening to me if they want.
Yeah, and I think all of your podcasts that I've seen have come from the heart, and I really enjoyed the travel. The ones in your recent trip to Denmark and Sweden were fantastic, and your yarn haul.
Thank you.
And then I missed out on the She's Crafty Castlemaine market because I was away on holidays.
It was a good one.
That was a really fun vlog. I actually watched that this morning.
Thank you. I don't normally do vlogs, but I'm trying. We'll see how that goes.
I think they're great. You have to definitely check out Jaime's YouTube channel. So many of your designs feature chunky or bulky yarns. Is there a reason why you like to design with that kind of fabric?
Yes, there is obviously a reason, because I know not everyone is drawn to those types of yarns. I definitely also don't only design with that, but I feel like, especially probably like in the last 2 years when I was using those yarns the most, obviously this year because of the book, but I feel like I do need some kind of, not instant gratification, but like finishing a project for me is like very important. If I'm designing a lot, not even designing, just knitting a lot with thinner yarns right now, and I have so many unfinished projects, and it's just like hard when you don't have that like cast off like satisfaction, and so I think that was probably part of it, and I'm also I just enjoy it. It's like not really like a specific reason. I just like how it looks. I like that it's somewhat quick and that you can kind of see progress quickly, and I know a lot of other people are also drawn to that, but I feel like at the moment I'm kind of shifting towards like just being more interested in designing thinner yarns, not like super thin. I mean, we'll see, but I don't know, it'll allow me to challenge myself a little bit more. Like even this one, I feel like I was able to kind of push myself to try some new things that I probably couldn't have done with bulkier yarn, because it's just like you're kind of limited with what you can do when you only have so many stitches. So yeah, but I think that's just like, and then with the book, that was just the direction that the publishers wanted to go, so I was happy to do that because I already am like confident in my my skills. I didn't want to, go too far out of my comfort zone when I'm writing a book. You want to kind of, feel confident that you have the, the experience and knowledge to be able to design, something that will be good and not a fail. So yeah, but I'm kind of feeling like ready to push myself to explore all sorts of different yarns and fibers and all those things. So yeah.
Where does your inspiration for design come from?
I wish I could answer this so like it comes from here, but I don't know. I honestly don't know. I feel like for the most part and at least in the last few years, I'll find like a stitch that I really like, and then I'll go from there. I'll have a yarn that I really like, and I'll be like, okay, I need to find a stitch that is going to look good with this yarn. Or I know that I want to make a jumper, but I feel like I'm very rarely inspired by like a specific silhouette, which is why probably a lot of my designs kind of have a similar construction. But there are obviously times where I'm like, especially with this one, where the inspiration was like, I want to make a wrap top with this very specific construction, and the stitch is just stuck in it. So obviously that's not going to be the inspiration. But for the most part, like different textures. Sometimes it's color work, but yeah, usually it's not. I'm not like looking for inspiration in any specific place. It's just like eventually come to me. It's hard right now. I'm a bit creatively burnt out.
Yeah.
Obviously after writing a book, I was hoping that wouldn't happen, but it definitely has. So I'm trying to find kind of new ways to find inspiration and hopefully eventually kind of get my mojo back. But yeah,
well, it's a huge
hard.
Project.
Yeah,
it's
a very short amount of time. So I think that's also, I'm not like, I did more designs for the book than I did at all last year. So just in like a few months. So yeah.
And there was a lot of, I know there were many people in our testing pool, and that was just for one of the, that was like 15 or 18.
Yeah, I usually have somewhere between
sweaters.
15 to 20 people for each pattern. So to do 18 of them.
That's a lot of cord, like serious cat herding, and making sure you've got the photographs and things, right? So, let's talk about the book, Fast and Fabulous Knits.
Correct.
Right? I got that right. I'm so happy. Actually,
okay. I've only just announced the title, so it's still getting used to saying it out loud, to be honest. But yeah.
And there's, what was the process for that? How did you link up with the publisher? Did you pitch the book, or did they approach you?
I did not pitch the book. I did not think I was at this stage in my career. At any stage that I think that I was like, I'm gonna write a book. Like that was not on my 2023 bingo card at all. But but in January, literally like a few weeks into the year, I like got this email. I was having lunch at my house by myself. Like I was just this random Wednesday, probably Wednesday, I don't actually know. But I got an email. I thought it was fake, but then I just looked up the publisher and I went, this is not fake. They wanted me to write a book. It's very, I think, common practice for them. They find a lot of their authors that way. I'm sure they do take pictures, but I think a lot of, pretty much everyone that I've heard that is under Page Street has been contacted by them. So they obviously they're looking and seeking out different creatives. So Page Street Publishing is a mostly non-fiction publishing house based in the US. Which has been interesting being in Australia, the time differences and all sorts of different things that come up. But they mostly publish like cookbooks and a lot of craft books and a bunch of other really interesting. They find such interesting people to write books. But the cookbooks is like their main thing. So which is pretty similar to a pattern book. So,
right. Just a sweater recipe.
Yeah, exactly. So so they reached out to me. I was like, what is life? Like, I don't know how this is happening. I genuinely was just not even something I could picture myself doing, even when I got the email. But I was like, I'll have a Zoom call with them. We'll hear them out, and see if this is something that I think I can take on. And they had a lot of confidence in me, which I think really helped. And obviously when it's coming from them and I'm not like, oh, please, like, help me write a book, like, let me write a book. When they're, like, coming to me, obviously you kind of get that, okay, like, someone obviously thinks that I'm capable or that I could be capable. So, I signed the deal, like, maybe about a month or so later, maybe, like, early March. And we decided on the concept, and then I had a deadline in July. So the first couple of months of the year was very, very hectic, and I just had to kind of like toss any other plans I had to the side and just like focus on the book, which was actually really good for me because I went into this year being very unsure about what I was going to do. Like normally I have like a specific kind of like idea of what the year is going to look like, and this year I was just like, oh, I don't know. Like I've had uni every other year, so or school or whatever, so I was just like, oh my god, like I'm just working for myself and I don't know what I'm going to do, and is this even going to work, or I don't know. And then kind of being like, hey, 2023 is the year of the book, and like that was just like really good for me to kind of have motivation to get it done, and somehow I did. I don't know how, but yeah. And then I honestly thought the second half of the year was going to be, I wasn't really going to be doing like book stuff, but it's still been pretty like consuming, which is good. Like I had the photo shoot, and then
that looked really fun.
Yeah, it was so much fun. And then all the testing I've had to coordinate, and then obviously there's book revisions, and we're still kind of not revising the book, but now we're looking at the printing and the color proofs, and it's like marketing the book now. It's like still very much
there's a lot
at the forefront. It's so much, but I love it. Like it's just like it's such a passion project, and it's just exciting that it's very soon going to be like out in the world. So yeah.
We're looking forward to it. Yeah. It's coming out in April 2024.
Yes. In Australia, it will be out in mid-May, but in the US, it's April 2nd. So
okay, exciting. So should we talk about some of the some of your favorite designs, and maybe show some of the patterns from the book?
Yes, I can talk about the ones from the book first if you want.
Okay.
I don't know if I even want to go into all of them. Maybe I'll speak maybe more about some than others.
Okay.
Yeah, I picked like a few of my favorites. It's very hard to choose.
It's like picking your favorite child.
It is, and there's so many as well, and I feel like my favorites change a lot, especially like now seeing my tester photos. I feel like, oh, actually no, like now I love this one because I've seen so many different interpretations of it and different colours and yarns and whatnot, so it's hard, but these are some of my favorites. I can start with this one. This is actually the first pattern in the book.
I love this actually because I love a turtleneck.
Yes, and it's my first turtleneck, and I'm very, I actually want to do more, even though I feel like I never did turtlenecks because I was like never keen on wearing them, but it's about you have to have the right yarn. If it's a yarn that's going to annoy me in any way, I'm like, get away from my neck. But I like this turtleneck because it's not too. No,
it looks a bit roomy.
It's a bit wide. So this is show it up. This is the Sweetest Pie jumper, and that's because it has this cable stitch that a lot of people said looked like a pie crust. I was like so stuck on names for this one, but I actually really like the name that I chose, and I'm happy that this kind of opens up the book. And it is knitted in also the Wool & Works chunky merino, so this is not a different yarn to that one because this one is like plied, whereas that's like a single ply. It's such a beautiful soft yarn, and the colorway it's called Glacier. We dyed it together. All the colors that I used in the book from Wool & Works are all colors that we dyed together. It's very similar to her ice colorway, but it's a little bit more saturated. So
I love that color
as
well.
It's so
duck
nice.
Egg kind of blue green.
Yeah, like this. It's like I don't even know, like minty turquoise.
I was going to say turquoise.
So many different words that you can kind of use, but it's really really pretty tonal, and it's got like a nice like slit on the side, which I really like because it makes it just like a little bit. Because I made this one a little bit longer than what I would normally do, so the split hem just kind of allows it to just sit a bit more comfortably. Because it's also not as oversized as I would normally go. But this jumper just feels like you're getting a big hug. Like this cable stitch just makes it like you can feel it. It's
puffy,
very thick. It used a lot more yarn than I would normally use. Thank you, Chloe, for a jumper, just because the cables just like really kind of bring it in. But when you're wearing it, it genuinely like just feels like you're being hugged, and it's especially in the cooler months, is really really nice. And also, obviously the turtleneck gives it a bit more of this like nice relaxed neck that I really really like it. So
I like the wide sleeve too. Like that's very cozy.
Yeah, just like nice like slouchy, kind of can wear it at home but also out of the house. And I wore this a little bit on my trip, so that was nice. And hopefully next year I'll get more wear out of it. Might have to retire this one for the rest of the next few months.
Right.
So that's that one. Definitely talk about this one because this is definitely like a crowd fave.
It's beautiful.
This is the Orla Cardigan. I'll show the back as well. So it's like cables galore. Both of those were cables. But I really just wanted to make just like my like dream cable cardigan, like just like the staple that you just don't need any others, honestly. You just need this. Yep. And it worked out so much better than I thought it was going to do. I was like, oh, this might not work at all, but it somehow did. And this is using the Big Love cotton from Wool and the Gang, which is a yarn that they only came out with this year, so it's still quite new. But when I had the opportunity to use this yarn, I thought it would be absolutely perfect with this design that I already kind of had in my head. So took that opportunity. And it's like, it's like a bulky weight cotton, which is very rare. And it doesn't really, I don't know if you think it feels like cotton, but it's just like so, it's so unusual.
It's really soft.
So soft. And I think like I used to be vegan. And so if I had this yarn then, like, I don't know if I would have even stopped being vegan. I think I would have just been like, all right, this is all I need, because it kind of feels like wool. It's warm. I wear it on cooler days, but also it's got a bit more breathability. And
it's a great color too. Like, I think this would go with anything.
It does. It's probably the most neutral thing I'll ever make. but I just it felt, I made this one while I was out on, have you heard of Unyoked? It's like those cabins.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. I made this one while I was there, most of it, not all of it, but most of it, while I was kind of just like out in nature, and I felt like it felt very like fitting, because this is like, it feels like, it just looks like what I was seeing.
Yep.
And so, and it was very peaceful to kind of be in that kind of, what's the word, like seclusion. Seclusion, that's the word. I can't think of the word. So we named it after the cabin that I named it after the cabin that we stayed in, which was called Orla. So that's like nice and special memories. And
the buttons are beautiful too on that.
Thank you. I got them from Wonderflex in Malvern. I almost forgot to get buttons like before I went on the trip, and I was like, I really wanted to get photos while we were still there, and I like remembered at the last minute. I was like, oh, I need buttons. So yeah, they're like this pretty like flower, I don't even know, floral design. But yeah, this one, like, there was a lot of interest in testing this one, so that's kind of how I gauge what people liked, is like which one had the most testing applications. So yeah, I think people were just like, you can't go wrong. So I understand, and I'm happy that it worked out for me. Lots of charts, so if you're not into charts, maybe I mean, there are written instructions, but if you're not into like a lot of different cable patterns, maybe don't go for that one. But if you want to keep your mind occupied, it's a good one.
I'm keen to try that yarn, because I've never knit with cotton.
Yeah, I honestly stopped knitting with it after I stopped being vegan. Like, I just had my like all the cotton graveyard is there. But it just didn't feel like cotton. It was definitely, it felt different to knitting with wool. It definitely wasn't like, oh, it feels exactly the same to knit with, but to wear it feels very similar. So yeah, no, it was an interesting experience, very different. And then this one is, it's actually, I wouldn't say this is like my favorite design, but I just wear it so often. So I'm like, there's got to be a reason that I'm like being drawn to it, and I do like the stitch that I use. I think it is really cool. So this is the
perfect color for you as well.
Yes. This is the Bambi Jumper. And a lot of people thought this was cables. When I was asking for name recommendations, or name suggestions. Yeah, suggestions. A lot of people were saying all different like cable names and ideas, and I was like, there's no cables in this.
Really?
It's actually like a faux cable stitch. It's all lace work, so it's just yarn overs and decreases that make it look like a cable. So I really like that aspect of it, and it's also top down, which is, I don't do that very often, so it was a bit of a challenge to kind of incorporate lace work into a top down knit, but we made it work, especially with like such a bulky yarn. I was like, I don't know how this is gonna go, but
I think the effect is fantastic.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of people don't think of lace work and bulky, like super bulky yarn as going together, so I wanted to kind of show that that's very possible, and it just looks different, but it's cool. And I knitted this in Malabrigo Rasta in the colorway Melon. So it's like the softest thing ever. And maybe that's also just why I wear it all the time. Yeah. Because it's just my favorite yarn. Like in terms of the super bulky yarns, it's by far my favorite. And you can tell it's like so soft. Like,
it's very soft.
When I want to put on a super bulky knit, like I want it to be really, really soft. So yeah, I've just been reaching for this like all the time. Over the last few months.
It's not that heavy either.
Yeah, it's a little bit lighter weight than the others. And yeah, I don't know. It's just like, I mean, I pull for it when it's cold. Like, I'm not going to
Yeah.
wear it if it's not cold enough. But yeah, I've just been enjoying kind of like dressing up a little bit or like layering it. And yeah, so I don't know. And someone in Chloe's family named it Bambi. Like, she sent it to them and was like, what does this look like? And they were like, Bambi. And I was like, that sounds cute.
All right.
I was like, I'll take it. So yeah, that's this one. Oh, I love this one so much. And this is
fabulous.
Yeah, this is the Colour Me striped jumper. This is the last design that I did for the book, like the last one I kind of knit and wrote.
Mm-hmm.
And it's an intarsia piece, so all of these stripes are worked using intarsia, and then these are just normal stripes.
Yeah.
But I really like that when you're wearing it, like if you put your arm out, it's like, well, it looks like vertical stripes.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's cool. And this was also knit in the Woollen Works Chunky Merino, same as the Sweetest Pie. This colour is the same. And then these are other ones that we dyed together. We named them Rose, Burst, and Apricot. I hope she brings these colourways like available, like makes them available when the book comes out, because I think they're really pretty. And I'll just show the bottom because I really like this ribbing.
I love that effect.
Kind of stitch like a seam that I've done, and I did this in my Patch Me If You Can vest, which was like one of my very first patterns. So I wanted to kind of just like incorporate something from like one of my old designs into this.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like this seam that you can see, like it has like you can see the cast off on the outside. I don't really know the right word to use for it in terms of what it looks like, but
Mm-hmm.
I just like the kind of extra like depth and like texture and interest that it gives. So that's this. I don't know. I just really like kind of how it turned out. I don't know why, but it's just very pretty.
I think it's a wonderful combination of things. So the colors, the stripes, your intarsia is very, very neat.
Thank you.
As well,
Thank
if
you.
I could just say.
Very
I don't
proud.
know. I would.
It blocked very nicely. It didn't look this good before. Which is yeah, the yarn. I don't know. It just it blocked really, really pretty. I know. I was also like, why does my tension look good? That's very rare. It's very rare for me, especially if I'm knitting flat. So somehow it worked out. And then this one you'll recognize if you've seen the cover of the book because it's on the cover. This is the attention deficit jumper. So obviously I mentioned before I am now diagnosed, so I do have ADHD. I wasn't just didn't just assume that I had it.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I kind of just wanted to do, it was kind of inspired by the Ingrid sweater by Petite Knit, where there's all the different stitches, and I just kind of want to put my own kind of take on that and that idea.
Mm-hmm. Well, you've done some travel in that, in Denmark.
Seeing the Ingrid sweater literally in every single yarn shop, I was like, I can't escape this design. I haven't made it myself, but I wanted to kind of, just do something kind of inspired by that, because it seemed like, you know, a lot anyone who had knit that, all I was hearing people say was just that it was so much fun because, you know, you just couldn't wait to get to the next stitch. Yeah. And I was like, that's literally ADHD. Like, you just, sometimes I find that while knitting is really good for ADHD because it can kind of keep you occupied and help you stay focused, there's the other part of like getting bored of the knit and not being able to kind of maintain your attention for the actual knit itself. Maybe like you can focus on what else you're doing if you're, you know, watching something or you're listening to a lecture or whatever it is you're doing. But in terms of having the motivation to kind of stay interested and paying attention to the knit, that can be a bit hard if it's just like plain stockinette. So the combination of obviously like the bulky yarn, this is 2 strands of Wool in the Gang Feeling Good yarn, in the what's it called, Buttercup Yellow colorway, which is the best. So a combination of that, so obviously it's going to knit up a little bit quicker, but then also having all these like really, really interesting and like I feel like quite unique stitch patterns that I have just put together. Everyone agrees. The testers all said that it was just so much fun to get to the next stitch. So I
love this one down here. This row, like I think
diamond,
it's my favorite.
It's like a slip stitch that you like carry across, and it turns into these like little diamonds, and there's like the bubble stitch and like all sorts of things. So
super fun.
A lot of people liked it, so I just put it on the cover. That was the decision. But I wasn't even gonna go through with the name attention deficit, and then it just kind of stuck. So I was like, well, I think I have to do it. Hopefully they don't have an issue with it. Never came up. never was brought up as an issue, which is good. And then another one that I really love in the book is the Ivy Jumper. it's pretty simple because it's just like the same stitch all the way across. I think like too crazy, but the stitch itself I just feel like is really, really, really fun.
It's beautiful. And again, I think
it's like the plant.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's the bulky yarn again in a lace pattern that has an incredible effect. You wouldn't think, I mean, a lot of people think that chunky or bulky yarn is just for chunky or bulky sweaters, but this is delicate and refined.
Yeah, and it blocked out really, really well. If you did not block this, oh my goodness, it looks like a completely different stitch. But yeah, it really kind of opened up nicely, and I just love how it worked out, mostly because I just love this yarn and I love this colorway. So that was also kind of all the things kind of combined: the stitch, the yarn, the color. This is the Alpacino Merino from Wool and the Gang, and the color is, I think it's lime sorbet or it's lime sherbet. It's one of those two. I can't remember the difference. But yeah, it's just got like a nice like straight sleeve, which I just feel like kind of just, it feels very elegant when I'm wearing it. And it's also a good layering piece because obviously you have the lace, you kind of need to layer it.
Something under it, yeah.
But yeah, I'll just like show the full thing. So that's the Ivy Jumper. It felt like a fitting name because it's like a vine stitch. And yeah, so those are probably my favorites from the book, but it's very hard to choose and it changes all the time. And that's not to say that I don't like the other pieces, but obviously I do.
Yeah.
But if you have to pick your favorites, that's I think that's like 6 out of 18. So
it's almost half.
A third. Yeah. It's okay. We got there. And then I'm happy to talk a little bit about non-book patterns, but I don't need to talk about all of them. This is definitely one of my favorites. I just think that it was a really good challenge for me. Like I said before, I knit this top down, which it's not a raglan, so that was also like a new kind of exploring a new construction technique because I had been knitting a few different patterns that use a top down construction even if it's not a raglan, and I was like, okay, I kind of understand it now, and how can I make this that? How can I use that to make this? And it worked really well, and I just really love this like I-cord detail. And I've used a lot of elastic. It's like my new thing that I love doing, is adding elastic to everything when it needs it. So this has elastic sewn in here just because I can just stand up so that it like, my goal was just for it to like really cinch around the waist and then be a bit more relaxed around the body. And so it's very hard to achieve that with yarn unless it's like a really elastic yarn. And so just add elastic. Like it's not that hard, and it makes all the difference. I've also added it around the neck just so that it doesn't stretch too much. I just feel like it's also just a really good way to maintain your knits over time with wear that they can stretch. So especially when you're using heavier yarns like I do. Not that this is a heavy yarn, but yeah, it's like a good kind of just like safeguarding thing to like prevent it from getting overstretched. So yeah, I just really like how this kind of worked out.
I think the photographs that I've seen of it online are beautiful.
Thank you.
But seeing it in person, like I feel actually quite inspired because I thought, I don't know if that would be like kind of my jam, like with the wrap top. But if you've got the elastic in it, like that would, like any kind of fear that I had of it being too low or. And
also a lot of people, a few of my testers have like just like sewn the two pieces together, just like a little kind of like something to keep it together.
You could do like a little hook and eye.
Yeah, anything that and that that's just kind of if you're worried about that. But also I feel like if you're breastfeeding, this is a great.
Oh god.
It's a great. I'm like I'm gonna keep this for one day. But yeah. I feel like it's got a lot of versatility, and I like that you don't have to worry about like how am I going to wrap this up. Like you just throw it on and it's knit up all in one piece, so no seaming, which we love.
For sure.
And there's a short sleeve version as well, so that's fun.
Versatile.
Vest hat, yes.
I love a vest.
Yes,
Clearly.
I also love a vest because I don't like knitting sleeves, so that's the main reason, to be honest. Or just it's cheaper. that as well. If you're anti-vest, think about that.
Save money on yarn.
Save money on yarn
more
and
vests.
time on sleeves. So this is the happy hour top. I have another sample of this as well, but I just like this colorway a lot.
That colorway is beautiful.
And I've got a chunky version as well. You might look at this and think it's chunky. I have a chunkier version, and I also have a jumper version. I did have a cardigan in the works, but that one's gone to the I ran out of yarn graveyard.
Oh, whoops.
Well, maybe eventually we'll finish it, but But yeah, I really, really, really just, I fell in love with this stitch the second I found it. I'm going to try and like show it properly so you can see because of the colours. It's this like slipped stitch hourglass stitch and yeah, it just like captured my attention straight away, and I just wanted to turn it into something, and a lot of people seem to really like it. So that was this one's probably the best seller out of the 3 patterns. But I really love the jumper too. I wear it a lot. It was the only jumper I took on my big Europe trip last year, so I got plenty of wear, especially in like the colder cities that I was in. And yeah, and this I knit up in, this is from Bella Falato Studio. She's like an indie dyer in the US, and I think it's the color All Dolled Up. It was like a Valentine's Day color that she did last year, and I saw it came up on my feed, and I went, I have to have it. I have to have it. I don't care how much it costs, I have to have it. So I hope it was worth the investment. But yeah, so it's just this beautiful purples, pinks, orange situation, and I just like that it's a good intermediate knit. I feel like if you're a beginner, don't do it. Like, I just don't think it will be worth it. But if you want to just kind of venture out a little bit and like learn a few new techniques, because you actually don't even need a cable needle to do this. It's just all like slip stitches that you can. I have like a tutorial that's attached to it, so you can see kind of how to do it without a cable needle. Obviously could use a cable needle, but I don't think it's necessary. Yeah, and it's just like so elegant, and like even with a solid yarn or a variegated yarn, it looks really pretty. So I kind of have to talk about that because it's definitely one of my favorites. And then this other pattern that I released this year, because I only released 2 patterns this year. Anyway, this is the Josephine Vest. Also, like, maybe I'll do this so that you can like see the lace a bit better.
That's so pretty.
Yeah, thank you. This was actually a follow-up to the Josephine jumper, but the vest seems to be what took off a little bit more.
Really?
Yeah, it's interesting. But I really like the jumper, but
I do too.
Yeah, most people like the vest more.
Is the jumper in mohair?
No, it's in this Suri.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, you can knit it in mohair. This is also Suri. This is the fingering Suri from Woolen Works. So this is 100% Suri alpaca, and this is the colorway Bluebird, I think. I think what people really like about the Josephine Vest, and it's honestly what I like as well, is that you will only need maximum 2 skeins to knit this. Like from sizes extra small to extra large, it's only 1 skein, and from XX to 5X, it's 2 skeins. That's if you don't add length, and if you want to add length, then I can't be responsible for how much yarn it uses. But if you want another reason, I make everything cropped. I'm just about saving money here. That's the main goal.
I added more length on this when I knit it. So
I try to make things as customizable as I can most of the time. But yeah, I think like it's just like a very simple lace stitch, but it's definitely if you're new to lace, you can accomplish it. But it's also like a fun challenge, and it's not like too boring, and it's just really pretty. I don't know. I don't even know why. It's just like this simple, kind of just detail across the front and the back. Yeah, it's just really nice. And yeah, I just think the fact that it's like how do I say this? Hand-dyed yarn is amazing, but it is really expensive, and it's like to knit a whole garment with hand-dyed yarn, like most people I feel like would probably they see the price and they're like, oh my god, like maybe a sock would be like pair of socks would be great, or you know, a hat or something that they can do with 1 skein, but you don't think that you'd be able to get a vest out of 1 skein. But this Suri yarn just goes such a long way that it's just like, if you're gonna, you know, make the investment, it's like worth it for this. And so I think that's why it's also done really well, because people are like, okay, this is a good kind of like opportunity to support an indie dyer. You also don't have to use this yarn, but if you want to, you know, 100 grams, 400 meters of fingering weight yarn, which is pretty standard, like you can. I could knit 2 of these probably, to be honest. I've got like half a skein left. So
oh wow.
Yeah, maybe not 2, but close to knitting 2 with this. So yeah, so it's been a good one, and I probably should make another one. To be honest, I feel like I need one in every color.
I feel like now I'm quite inspired actually to knit one.
a good one for this time of year as well, because I like that you can layer it if you want, but also on its own it works.
I reckon I would wear that length as well over a dress, and I wear a lot of dresses in summer. So, and the aircon at my office is so cold.
Oh my god!
Right? Like so. This would be perfect for that.
Yeah, it's very versatile. I've been wanting to do more vest over dresses. I did for a few of the book in the book photo shoot for a few of them. I put the vest over a dress, and I was like, oh, like this is so nice. But like in my like day-to-day life, it's probably not what I would like naturally do. But I'm like, it actually it really works, especially for the cropped length. You can kind of just throw it over the vest, and then you throw over the dress, and then you still kind of get the rest of the dress. It doesn't like cover too much of it, so yeah. Okay, so those are all the designs we're going to talk about, because otherwise I'll talk all day.
Other than your own designs, who are your favorite knitwear designers?
Oh my gosh, I need to read my list that I wrote down.
Hold on, I've got it.
I'm gonna forget.
So I wrote them down.
Okay.
Right, and then I picked out a pattern that I liked from all of them. Beautiful. Because some of them I hadn't heard of before, and that's one thing that I love, is that I feel like the knitting community is almost endless.
It's so
right.
Big. There's so many sectors.
So many sectors. Yeah. So many things that you haven't found yet, and you can always find something new.
Yeah, it's easy to kind of get like comfortable with the like, okay, I know this designer, I'm gonna just keep knitting their patterns, and I definitely am guilty of it. But yeah, like I think it is it's good to branch out, and there's so much out there. So yeah, no, totally. So these are only a few. I honestly feel like I have so many, but I wanted to just highlight people that I've knit their patterns, or like I'm knitting their patterns, and also that I just like am really inspired by as well. Friday Knits is definitely one of them. Phoebe's like also one of my friends. She lives in Melbourne.
And really?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, well, another interview.
Yes, you should definitely get her on. She's also a podcaster and does YouTube as well. So very, very like talented designer. I just finished knitting one of her patterns as well. I was debating wearing it today, but I feel like I've been wearing it in every single one of my YouTube videos that I've been filming recently, so I'm like, I need to just stop. It's like people are gonna think it's all I wear. But I just knit her Lost tank, which is like so nice. I knitted in Chloe's Barbie yarn. But she's incredibly talented. She's just such a she's just such a visionary. I think she just can bring like ideas that I would never think could be knits and makes them knits. Like she's just she's incredible.
She has a beautiful beret pattern.
So I think she's very inspired by like Paris. Like she went to Paris last year and she did a whole lot of designs that were very Paris, and also she has a whole like Bridgerton collection, which is I probably wouldn't wear that, but I just think it's incredible.
Yes, like with a bit of like that detailing
and very just very, very creative. She's just done this like incredible like zipper jumper that's like got all these like bright colors, which is like very up my alley. So yeah, she's just amazing. And then Joanne, so Knitwear by Joanne, who I discovered this year because we are with the same publishers. So she's just had a book come out called Cable Knit Style. So she was like really like just helpful throughout the year, a good support system to have, to kind of be like, someone who's gone through it, because she wrote her book last year, so someone who's kind of already been through that process, and I would be like, okay, like just asking her questions about things, like how did you go about doing this, and she's just been a really big supporter of the book, and I've got her book, so I'm already in the process of knitting one of the patterns from her beautiful book of cables. It's just it's stunning. I actually have I can show the book if you want, but it's gorgeous. I'm doing her Myrtle Tee right now, but I already have yarn for another one. It's like eventually I'm gonna get through all of them. I need everyone.
Totally fell in love with the Mulberry Poncho. So when you want to knit that, let me know. We can have a little cow
for sure. She's incredible, and her book is, I highly recommend it if you wanted to get it. It's out. So and then so Brenda, I think her username is Beatific Brenda, but I think her like kind of knitwear designer name is Brenda Made This.
I'll have descriptions in the description box. I've got links to everything, so they just need to click below and you'll be able to find it. Yeah,
I love her design. She's also kind of a big inspiration when it comes to chunky knits. Kind of have a similar style when it comes to that. I just also just feel like she's just like a bundle of joy to follow on Instagram. But also when you read her patterns, they're just filled with like just the tone of voice that she uses in her patterns is so unique, and it's so her, and very like you can just tell like her personality like jumps out of the page. And I feel like that's, you know, some patterns you're reading is just like knit 1, knit 2, like it's like yes, that's all you really need. But it does add something to the experience where you have, you know, someone who has really kind of put themselves into the pattern as well, and their personality. So I really enjoy following her for that, and also knitting her patterns. I've test knitted for her a bunch of times, and also like supported her patterns as well and bought them, and she's done the same for me. So really love her stuff.
I love her need to have cardigan.
Yes, I've made that one.
Is it
good? Yes, it's just like a basic, but yeah, like I wear it all the time. You can't go wrong.
It's funny because I think the one in the sample, it was a very similar color to the Orla, that color, and I was like, oh, that's just, I'm loving that color.
I think I made mine like as like deep, like I don't even know, like a wine pink. That makes me think of
beautiful.
So yeah, that's a really good one. And the knit edit, I mean, also she's been like just like such a incredible support for me over the past few years. But I was a fan. Like before we were friends, I was like the biggest like fangirl. I probably sent her the most embarrassing messages a few years ago. But when I was first starting out, she's one of the first people that I found who was just doing colours and like scrap yarn in a way that I had never seen and I never thought could be possible. And that was like such an inspiration for me to start experimenting with colours and what I could do with leftovers, and just so many things that really kind of also just helped me like gain an audience, because that's, you know, it made my page look better, obviously,
from the colours,
of course, yeah. And so, you know, I was knitting her patterns, like some of the first patterns that I knit, and yeah, and I just also really respect her. Like she was working, like she studied like knitwear design, and she was working in the fast fashion industry and like living in like Hong Kong and like doing all the design for all these big brands. But then kind of COVID happened, and then she was like, you know what, I actually wasn't really getting any fulfillment out of working in fast fashion. That's not where my values are. And so she started her own, you know, she started writing her own patterns and is now, you know, working for herself. And like that's what she's doing with her actual degree and actual education and professional qualifications in this. And like there's not that many people designing that, you know, have been like, that have the, you know, the education behind it. So I think that's like that kind of sets her apart as well. That
technical know-how.
Yes, she's got so much knowledge on just like how knitwear is made. It's like I'm like continuously just like, you know so much, like and she's hilarious. Like genuinely one of the funniest people. If you're not following her, you really should be. She's, her memes 10 out of 10. So
I'll have to link the her Instagram.
Absolutely. And then Cara as well, I feel like we have quite similar style in terms of just like what we like to wear, and then also what we like to knit. It's quite similar, and she is like a machine. She's like
very prolific.
I feel like in terms of like writing the book, I feel like she was like a big inspiration of like just work ethic of just like pumping out designs, which like I feel like I never used to understand how that was even possible. But it is possible if you just like set your mind to it. But she does it, and she has a full-time job, so I just like do not understand how like I don't understand it. But she's incredibly driven. I mean, she went to Stanford. She's like, you know, she's got her shit together.
Bit of an overachiever. Maybe.
Yeah, for sure. But I also just love her design. She's got such a like versatile array of patterns, like literally so many, like maybe like 200, like I don't know.
So there were like 7 pages or something when I was doing my research for today.
Crazy.
And I just loved the Lovesick Cardigan. So it's like a bulky kind of cardigan with bobble stitches. Just loved it.
For
Looked
sure.
really fun.
And like I've tested it for her so much. So I've made heaps of patterns, heaps of her patterns, and it's like so hard to choose a favorite because there's so many. But so I had to include her. And then Vicky Knits, I also I haven't made many of her patterns. I might have only done 1 or 2, but she's just also incredibly inspiring for me, just in terms of how she's also been able to kind of turn her her business into, like, she's thriving. Like, she's designing for all these different companies, and her knits are in like all these different, like, you know, retailers, like these like small kind of like boutique retailers. Like, I just think it's really incredible what she's been able to do. And like, I just love the use of color, that we were very similar kind of color preferences for like pastels, and I just think I think she's amazing.
Yep.
And then did you want to talk about your favorite one from her, or?
Oh yeah, we can. The April vest.
Remind me what that one is.
It's just a bit of a color block vest. It's not it's in a thinner weight yarn, I think, but it's very simple lines. It's a little bit longer, split hem.
I think I know the one. So beautiful. Everything she done, like, every time I see one of her posts, I'm like, oh my god, like, how did you come up with that? Like, it's And then, of course, Jessie Made, I feel like isn't that obscure, but it's not an obscure pick. But I've been knitting a lot of her patterns recently. I've done the mini mock neck recently. I'm doing the GR8 Gingham at the moment, but it's ended up in the pile of whips for now, but we'll come back to it. And I've done the outline tank this year. I've done quite a few. And yeah, I just love her designs. I don't know, I just think they're really, there's like a combination of like super wearable knits, but then also super like interesting and like unique. And I love the Outline Raglan by Jessie Made. So the whole outline like series,
and I just think it would be so nice in like a cotton wool or a linen wool for the summer.
Definitely. Yeah, I did mine in a merino, and I'm kind of regretting like the tank. At least it's a tank, so it's okay. But I'm like, might not have been the best idea, but that's all right. We'll see how it goes.
Oh, I'm sure we'll get some wear out of it.
Yeah, that's my short list. I feel like I have so many, but it's hard to choose.
No, I think that's great, and I think it's a lot of exploration for viewers that haven't seen or heard of these designers before, because I know I haven't, and I'm like a serial Ravel researcher, legit. Like, do you have any advice for folks who might want to start designing? Like, what would you tell your former self now that you've been through, you know, publishing your patterns, the book?
Yeah. Get a tech editor. That's a really big one that I didn't do before the book. I knew it was a thing. Like, I knew tech editors existed, but they definitely weren't being used and aren't being used by like every single designer. And I kind of use test knitters as tech editors, which I just don't, like, in hindsight, I'm like, I just don't think that that's necessary and necessarily fair as well. Not every test knitter is going to be looking out for those things. Like, I mean, I know when I'm knitting a pattern, there's so many things that I miss just because you look at it once and you keep going, but they're just invaluable. Like, my book would not have, I'm like trying to imagine the length of my book if I didn't have my tech editor, she just was so integral in bringing the patterns, in making the patterns what they are. And then I used my same tech editor for this, and it was like the amount of editing she had to do was so much less, because I feel like I just learned so much from her, and I was able to kind of apply that to my future designs, and I just feel like it's just invaluable insights that they can provide, and also it's just like good to have someone check your maths. Like, it's really good, and they can just, there's so much more that they can help you to, like, how can we condense this? How can we make this, like, how can we make this less all over the place? Like, how can we make this just like simple as possible, like, and readable, and comprehensive, you know, for the person knitting it. So, so that's probably the biggest thing that I would probably I wish I had started doing that earlier on, but it's okay. We're going to do that from now on. So yeah, and it's like, it's just like, it's worth the investment. Obviously it's harder when you're, you know, first starting out to kind of, think about paying someone to do anything, but it's like, I just genuinely feel like it's worth it.
All right, so we have come to the part of the interview where we ask what your perfect pairing is. What beverage of choice do you like to have when you are doing your crafting?
Usually water, because I should be drinking that, and I will sometimes be knitting for a very long period of time. So water, but I love coffee, like always. I don't even drink real coffee because I can't, because I take ADHD medication, but decaf, all good. Still just love the taste. So I just like something, there's nothing like a coffee in the morning with a couple of rows, like even if I've got other stuff to do in the day. Like I really do like to start my day with a bit of knitting. Sometimes it turns into a few hours of knitting, so we gotta just sometimes hold back. But yeah, the coffee really helps to kind of just start the day right.
I like to do that as well, and I'm maybe 30 minutes. Like I have to set a timer.
Yeah,
but it's a really nice way to start off the day in a really mindful way, I think.
For sure, yeah. Sometimes I'm just too tired in the morning to like actually start working. I'm like, okay, I've got the energy to knit, but I don't have the energy to do anything else. To open the emails, I'm like, no, it's too early for this.
It's just a bit of a warm up, isn't it?
Yeah.
To like,
but then
get going.
Yeah. Sometimes it turns into a few hours, and I'm like, oh.
Well, you've been inspired then.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Where can viewers find you in the book?
Okay. I've tried to make it like all my usernames are the same across all platforms, which is good. So it's Jaime_creates. I've recently found out that the Jaime creates without an underscore is totally available, and I'm like, why did I put an underscore there? I have no idea, but I'm too far gone now, so we're just gonna leave it. But yeah, Jaime_creates, Jaime. I'm sure that it will be somewhere. On Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. That's the social medias that I have. Try to be active on TikTok. I'm not the best, but Instagram is definitely like the main thing, and also YouTube. I'm really trying to be more consistent. I already have a bunch of videos coming up for this month, which is good. And then of course I'm on Ravelry, Etsy, Ribbler, and I have my website, which is probably where I'd prefer that people buy patterns from. And yeah, so all of those links are all in my link tree. And then the book also is, there's a page on my website where you can find the links to pre-order the book from a bunch of different places depending on where you are in the world and what your preferred place to buy books is. But you can pre-order the book now, and pre-orders really, really matter. If you're thinking about buying the book anyway, you may as well pre-order it. So that's like the main thing that I kind of just want to get across. I think a lot of people I definitely don't think I realized kind of like why pre-orders are so important, but they really do. Like they tell the publisher that it's something that people want to buy, and so it's good to kind of give them that information before it comes out rather than after. So so I'd really appreciate it if you were already thinking about buying the book, that if you can pre-order it. It's on like Amazon and Barnes and Noble and all the places. So
think of it as an early Christmas gift.
Literally, and then you get it on the day it comes out. So you don't even have to be like, oh, now I've got to go get it. It's like, it'll just arrive at your door. So that's really good.
Win-win.
Yeah, I don't know if I have anything else to book. That's it. I think it's just those.
Your Patreon.
Oh, that too. I always forget about the Patreon. Yes, I am on Patreon. I've only been doing it for a few months, but it's been fun. And there's pattern discount codes on there. So I don't do a lot of sales. So if you want to get the patterns at a heavily discounted price, it's 20% to 50% off. You can year round. Then you can support my Patreon. There's also, I do a monthly podcast on Patreon that's not talking about what I'm making necessarily, but just other fiber arts related things. And there's a lot of other perks, but I'm not going to ramble. But yeah, if you wanted to support me on there, I'd appreciate it, but no pressure. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for your time, Jaime. This has been really fun getting to know you. And so now the next time I see you at Wando Flex,
yeah,
right, I won't be shy about saying hello.
Of course. Or the next Sheaves Crafty Market,
right?
Hopefully, will be closer to home.
I know. I'm hoping that they do normally do one, I think, in March, but I don't know that they've announced it yet.
No, I don't think so, but I'm sure it's coming up.
Start stalking Pauline's Instagram.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, thank you so much. And
thank you for having me.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Well, that was just an hour packed with utter inspiration, both for Jaime's knits, as well as the designers that she enjoys knitting herself. And I really enjoyed learning about the designers that I hadn't heard of. And I'm also dreaming of perhaps an Aviva top or that Josephine vest, and cannot wait to get my hands on some woolen works, I think. So we'll see how we go with that. If you've enjoyed the content today, and you would like to see more of the content, please hit the subscribe button. And if you could hit the thumbs up as well, that will help the video gain some more traction. And again, I'd love to read your comments, and I try to respond to all of them. So I really enjoy that. And thank you so much for joining me. And until next time, happy knitting!